From deep within his Nebraska fortress comes rapidly aging technology with another video.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rapidly Aging Technology. Today I hope to make a reasonably quick video. We'll see how that goes. We know that I have a tradition to ramble. What I'm doing today is switching out a vacuum tube in a microphone preamp. And I've already recorded a couple of samples of it as stock. And once we switch out the tube, we will re-record something similar with two separate microphones, and then I'll place the samples right beside each other so you can listen to see if it made a difference. Now, this isn't particularly computer related other than early computing, or the equivalent of, would have used vacuum tubes before transistors were around. Of course, transistors are far superior in a computing environment, but this is also used in the chain that's hooked up to my old Lenovo ThinkPad that I'll use for a dedicated audio recording. Now, when I do videos, I don't, if I do a voiceover after the fact, there's a chance you've heard this already. As far as when I'm actively recording a video, I have a lavalier mic that goes right into this camera. So obviously this type of thing isn't involved with that. This is the Bellari MP507. This has been semi-recently discontinued, but you can still find some on eBay and other suppliers. I really like this. This is an upgrade to me. I used to have well, I still have it as a backup for other purposes, a Behringer tube ultra gain mic 100, which I found when you cranked up its gain past 75% or so, its self noise just jumped. It wasn't just its natural noise being raised up. It seemed to really have a leap because it's not a particularly expensive unit. This cost a bit more. You can still find examples for around $200. But it's a much cleaner signal, and I also found that it gave a little more, it put out more volume, more gain, I guess would be the accurate term. And it also seemed to have more of an effect on the signal because this thing is actually running the tube with some voltage through it. A lot of those other designs, especially inexpensive tube preamplifiers, will be what's called a starved plate design. Basically, they have the tube in the chain to maybe add some flavor, but there's really not enough oomph going through it to really use it. So this one actually seems to use the tube. So switching out the tube in this might be worth it. Switching out a tube in a Behringer Mic 100 might not, because it might not be a big piece of the puzzle. So it has a pad switch. I think that's 20 decibels. You can invert the phase. I'm sure there's reasons to do that. It can provide phantom power. You have a gain and a level, and it has light to tell you it's on. There's no on-off switch, so you need to either plug it in or unplug it, or have it on a rocker switch. Out the back, you'll have instrument jack or XLR in, and out you can have XLR, a mono, I think it'd just be a TS jack, stereo 3.5, and there is your power plug. Bottom, nothing much. It's all made of metal. The rubber feet the glue was a bit wimpy, so if there was any stress on it, they tended to slide, so I just pulled them off and put replacement feet on, which have been bigger and better. The tube, well, we can't really get a good look at it now. It is some sort of tube made in China, and it has this protector on it. So we're going to use an Allen wrench and get it cracked open. Okay, well, that didn't take much on that side. Oh, and very little on that side. Okay. Okay, there's one of those. One of those, and just this plate. All right, well, there's no fancy way to do it. I'm going to try to be even and wiggle it gently and pull it up. Now, when you do this, you definitely don't want it you want to let it fully cool down before you do this. Otherwise, circuit boards or things might be hot, and well, I mean, it could be warm and just it'd be unpleasant for you, but it might have a greater chance of breaking something loose. So we're going to take this up now. Whew. Whew. See, all the pins are intact, so nothing got damaged there. Let's see here. Yep, it's a 12 AX7, there's a B on there, and it's a China model of some kind. You have the silver getter in there, which is nice. It just looks, I mean, it has a purpose to try to absorb things that are burnt off and any oxygen that might be in there, but it also looks nice. So that is that. Let's take a quick, set that in a kind of rubber band ring. There is your socket, and you can see, maybe not, there are some, looks like some resistors in there. I can see some capacitors. There should be a transformer in this. So let's get that put in. The tube we're using today is from Sovtek. It's a Russian company, and it's their 12AX7 LPS. Here is what it scored on a tube tester by a pretty large and well-established tube seller on eBay. You can tell me if you know what those numbers mean. I haven't looked enough into tubes and their rating to know. What's special about this tube, and this is from April 2002, so it's not vintage. I mean, it's, 20 years old now, is that the seller found, got a little sample of these from a supplier, really liked them, like more than he expected, and then sent some to his friends for them to test. They also really liked them, so he bought up the rest of the stock that supplier had, and then went on a hunt to find more from this and within a few years. So I think the first batch he got was maybe 2000, so he's got like 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002. They just performed, in his measure, like really well for what they are. So it seemed like it'd be a nice upgrade. So we have Sovtek 12AX7 LP, made in Russia. And we have 2002 and April. Let's compare the structures, which definitely are different. So this has a two very distinct sides with space in between them. So this is a dual triode design, so they're very distinct. This one, things they feel a lot closer together, and the shielding things are quite different. And overall size of the tubes are pretty similar. The Russian one seems to have the bulk of it is a bit taller, but then its top is a bit shorter, so they kind of even out. So now some people are picky about getting oils on these guys, so I'm going to try to clean off the bottom a bit. I don't think they really get hot enough for that to be an issue, like halogen bulbs in a lamp. Those can get so hot that your oils might be a problem. Don't think tubes are like that. But so the bottom is going to wipe down, the top I can get again. So now there is, as you can see, a missing pin on the side, which is what you use to line up. The missing is, so it should go in like this, which is nice because then the front will actually be visible. And we'll just, it has slid in. And so now we will give it a gentle push. Well, that feels in. So not wiping the label off, that'd be a shame. There might have been a little bit of a quality control stamp on it that kind of got the wipe going, but there we go. The wipe going. I don't know what that means. All right. So let's get this back assembled. We'll plug it in, we'll see if it lights up. And then if I can measure some output in the computer, I don't think I really need to tighten these down a whole lot, just enough. Now, I am an adult. There we go. There we go. All right, we'll get this set up over in its recording spot, and we'll see if it explodes. All right, we have set this up back where it needs to go. It is all hooked up to the power strip near it. So we will give it a go. I have Audacity up on the computer, which, oh, you're zoomed in a bit because I can only get the tripod so close. So I will see visually if it pushes any noise just onto Audacity here as it turns up, and we'll see if it starts to glow. Now, the old tube tended to flash when it first fired up. That usually means there's a bit of a kind of a weak point or a point of a little more resistance in it when the power first goes through. So it'll flash and then settle back down. That's usually not too much of a problem. I think that type of tube, if it's turned on and off a lot, might age prematurely. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. But it's usually not too much of an issue on a preamp tube. Now, if it happens on a power tube, then problems. So don't do that. Anyway, we will see if it flashes or not, and if it starts to have the nice orange glow, or if it explodes. So here we go. Okay, the power light is on. Let's see what the tube does. All right, we are testing the ribbon microphone, the MXL R144. I'm about a hang 10 distance away from the microphone with a pop filter in between, and we are hooked up through the cloud lifter into the preamp, which is maxed out on both gain and output, into the Behringer, which is not set to amplify at all. Now, this signal looks like it is low enough that I will need to amplify it after the fact in Audacity, but this should give you a sense of how the microphone sounds, what the bass noise level is. I usually use a Soyuz launcher, which does have a little more amplification. In fact, it feels like it has a good bit more. But I want to keep things as neutral and uncolored as possible. So this is the sound of the ribbon microphone. All settings on the amplifier maxed with the cloud lifter in place. And so I'll amplify this to a usable listening level, and then we'll listen to the other microphone. All right, so now we are listening to the MXL R144 using the new vacuum tube. This, of course, is once again the ribbon microphone. It should be the smoother of the two, darker, as they might say. And it is a figure 8 polar pattern, so you need to have extra care taken when you're recording with it, because it's going to listen to the front, but also very much the back, quite evenly. Sides, it will ignore for the most part, but you have to take that into consideration. So what do you say? What does the noise floor sound like? Anyway, this is the sound of the microphone. I'm once again the same distance away, also going through the cloud lifter to give it a little more oomph. So what does it sound like? Did it improve? Did it get worse? Did it stay the same? Is there any measurable difference at all in your mind? Please leave a comment. All right, I am about hang 10 distance away from the, not the Shure. I almost said Shure SM7B. This is the SC Electronics V7 dynamic microphone. This should give you another little taste of how the Bellari tube amplifier sounds for our comparison. So this is what it sounds like. You should notice it's a lot less smooth than the ribbon microphone. I'm also about the same distance away, so hopefully there's not too much of a proximity effect. We're relatively close, but not crazy. I will also, just looking out of the side of my eye at the recording, this will need to be boosted as well. I'm using the same settings, maxed out on the amplifier and using a cloud lifter. and then in post bumping it up so that it peaks at 0 just to keep everything consistent. And so then you'll be able to listen to the comparison. So I'm rambling on just so you can get a nice taste of what this sounds like on my voice. We'll also have maybe a few moments of pauses so you can hear the noise floor. And then we'll see if the new tube changes anything. All right, here we have the SE Electronics V7 with the new tube in the amplifier. Once again, everything is set to maximum, gain full, output full. Going through the cloud lifter with phantom power. No post-processing, no compression, no anything like that. Same distance away, about the hang 10 distance if you want to think of it that way, when you extend your pinky and your thumb in kind of a Y shape, using that as a relative distance with the pop filter in place. So this is how this microphone sounds, now with the new tube installed, the Sovtek Russian tube. So do you hear any difference or improvement or degradation now as we've moved to the Russian tube?